Hi, hello. Good morning to all, and also good afternoon to attendees that if you are coming from Australia and New Zealand, which have a 3 to 5 hours ahead. And I'm Joe from Matrix Invent. Together, I want to thank for today's panelists, Brian and Yong, who will be helping me to answer any questions. In case that you have, you can raise hand. And at the same time, we will make it a bit more like a discussion mood, that kind of like webinar. Yeah, Brian, you got anything to say?
Yeah,
so
hi. Yeah, morning everyone. I'm Brian here.
Yeah.
Morning everyone.
Thanks for both of your time. Thanks for both of your time. Yeah. So I think without any delay, we start first. I mean, just to chip in any question that you want to ask, we can discuss together, and to make it much more like a discussion studio as of today. So we have the title of today to discuss about the improving revenue via software licensing and monetization tool in a stagnant market. So in a way, there's a technical jargon here, which is SLM, which I will explain later together. And I'm Joe Paul. I'm the Regional Sales Director, which are handling Thales Sentinel sales across the region. And we have a few, even our sales manager together, like Brian, in here, and Yong in here together. And somehow will be like something like, I would say, we have been working with Thales for more than 5 to 6 years time. Yeah. Okay. So Thales used to call 1 year ago. Then many of you may still aware that it is from the name is called Gemato Sentinel, but today it is Thales Sentinel. So due to some M&A and activities in the past 1 year, now Thales is now acquired fully Gemato and is merged into Thales. So the new name will be Thales Sentinel. Okay. So which they are specialized in maximizing the software revenue and happy to license, deliver your software, and to protect your software. So Thales as a whole is very huge. I mean, they have about multiple thousands of staff around the whole world. You know, I mean, they are from every way of the securities of the software until military software and stuff like that. But we are very focused into working a very special unit of Thales Sentinel, and they have about 450 employees worldwide, and very much focused into how to continue enhance the product via R&D, departments. That's why you can see the proportion of the R&D staff is very high in the overall staff in this business unit alone. Yeah. Well, challenges in the pandemic today, I think needless to go back to keep on discussing about the year 2020, which I think not a year that everyone wants to remember. Okay, so it is confirmed, everyone that we know that is the world is in recession, if not, or at least stagnant. I mean, I would say that at this point in time. Yeah. So there is a very funny situation now today in the economy. I mean, if you can just carefully look into the development where people talk about care economy, because in some industry are doing quite well in this pandemic, but some industry is not doing very well or completely rip off by this pandemic. Yeah. So if you are in healthcare, if you are in vaccination, if you are in automation, if you are in logistics and e-commerce, you know, you did very well. Okay. So on the opposite side, you can see companies like tourism. You can see companies like hotel. You know, I mean, companies like airlines. They are really into a big trouble these days. So I mean, the things are quite very obvious that we are facing a care economy at this point in time. Yeah. But one thing that cannot be denied is that more and more businesses are IP oriented. You know, I mean, it is actually a trend. I mean, more things are moving into IP based, but because of this pandemic, a lot of things are moving even into this, like I would say the software based, and make everything become much more IP oriented. So the concept of software monetization become very important. So today the discussion will be of the concept, which is not just only in a K economy, but I would say, I mean, in a major strategy of today's and onwards in the industry. But I got to say that this word of software monetization, the concept of it is not easy to understand. It's not much people to understand. And if you look back into years back, or maybe a decade back, people is talking about licensing software licensing, and how do you protect software. But software monetization is a new concept that back from a few years back ago, and now it's a completely very important play field that for the industry. Yeah. Yeah. Any question on that? Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
So Joe, I think basically, can we say that software monetization is something that has been in the market for quite some time already? It's just that the term that is being used now is more into using this monetization as something that to tell people is like, this is how you can make money from your software.
A good question. If you look back into software monetization, I would say understand the entire development of software is possibly about 20 to 30 years ago. So some started from open source, some started from the product-based software that they sell to you. So it is just like CRM. They used to be talking about EDP, MIS, but the things are progressing until that you're talking about in detail how you can really maximizing your software IP values rather than just only licensing alone. So in short form, SM is becoming one of the things that we talk about how you really can maximize it further. Yeah. So now I'm trying to explain it's like the concept together. Yeah. So what is software monetization? I think it's related to what your question is. Yeah. So so everything is software. It cannot be going to be more and more things to be in software in the coming futures. Yeah. So used to be just only enterprise software, the MIS, CRM, that people talk about all this kind of like enterprise software, Microsoft Office, which is easy to understand. But today you're seeing the trend of even more and more into software oriented. Yeah. So no matter in military, a submarine that you need to be really driven by all the chips and the software. So you got the AI, you got a X-ray machine, you got the robotics arm, mechatronics in the manufacturing industry 4.0 or 5.0. So everything has been becoming really software related. So that's how it started to come up, this concept of software monetization. Yeah. So it contains a lot of intellectual property. It's no longer just the product alone, but the service also, everything embedded into code and the software. So to move something on your service. So like I say, Industry 4.0, 5.0 to produce food, the machines are really also driven by software. So the software need to control the hardware to perform certain tasks. So it becomes very important. So software monetization, I would say the short form SM, is to enhance, the revenue stream. The most important thing. How do you make most of your software from currently what you have from, this concept of software monetization? It is a continuous process. It's going to be like you're talking about not just only one time. You're going to have this process for a very long time to come. Day after day, months after months, year after year, it becomes like I would say an important business strategy for all the companies that every year. So what you're going to do with this concept to make sure that you make more? Yeah. So various business model available. You have things like the perpetual. You have time. You have usage based. You have subscription based. All these are models that will normally can help you to really achieve the concept of software monetization, maximizing the value of your IP. And needless to say, which is how to protect your IP, that using various way of encryption and authentication. So, but today we won't go into too much technical because we are talking about how very focused into, how we're going to use some kind of like a SLM tool. Like a tool that can help you to achieve software monetization, in a way to improve your revenue instead. Yeah. So the driving factors, there's so many things that you're talking about, the SM, but what is the driving factors? Like we just mentioned, everything going to be software. Enterprise software alone is estimated around 483 billion per year. This is a very huge spending because everything is going to be software, or related in a way. And then you got a lot of growing new emerging technologies. We talk about IoT these days. We talk about mechatronics these days, virtual reality, AI, big data, and you can see everything. The basis to form all this technology and to move all this technology is also software. So when you got the software, then you got to really how you can build in your algorithm and the knowledge to manage all these devices to provide a value and service to your end customer, and they become important. So how do you maximize from there? Yeah.
So actually, can we say like something like those things that like Spotify, Netflix, all this, they have all this subscription-based stuff. Is something that is currently in this kind of factors, driving factors to do the monetization.
Good question. They are kind of in software monetization, but I mean they are more. I would say you can use the name of they are doing service monetization. Yeah, because they are not providing a software. They are more like content monetization. So when Spotify and Netflix is giving you a content, so they charge you from that. The concept is more or less the same. Okay, how they package and how they provide the service in a different way. They can tap into different market. So they have a like for example Netflix. So you got a service of for one tablet, two tablet, able to download, able to have full HD 4K or 8K videos. So these are the things that they make a various different segmentized market that allow people to easy to entry to subscribe, and at the same time to provide a strong recurring revenue, which I will also discuss later in a way.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, also the extensive software privacy. I think today we're talking about, 218 BSA. BSA has been really aggressive into publishing all the report regarding about the software piracy. So today, I mean, the piracy of software in the worldwide, I mean, still have a rates around 37% in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So and then they're also talking about, I mean, in some of the developing country in Asia, the rate are much higher. And not just about the piracy. So many people are talking about, when you interviewing the IT CIO, so what is the things that you're most afraid of, when you hit this kind of problem in the organization? So it can be like when you are using unauthorized software. So somehow, even though the vendor may not be protecting and licensing the product very well, so they may allow you to really use it. But if you're using unauthorized, so you tend to have a lot of things like the malware attacking to your organization, and the cost of recovery is become very high for all these organizations. I mean, just like the if I'm not mistaken, the ransomware, sometimes a year ago, which is rampant to the whole world. So these are the key things that you look into it if you're using unauthorized software. So somehow there's a lot of I mean the software which is unauthorized and can be a strong revenue back to the software vendors is actually outside. So how are you going to tap back and make sure that you make all the money there? So there's a lot of things that you can get back. So these are the driving factors. But of course, key things of today is because of the pandemic. You see things like the COVID-19 really pushing the transformation of digitalization or much more faster. So more and more things are going into remote working, I mean, into the cloud, I mean, more are developing into IP, So these are the key things that really become a main driving factors of software monetization today. So we got to understand back, because in this region, I think the concept of software monetization is not much been well understood. So it is a concept just like a CRM. How do you view a particular of your customer 360 degrees? So how you make full use of your customer relationship? How do you sell more? How do you understand more? It's the same thing. SM is actually something that how you can maximize what you have in your IP, that you make yourself, I mean, the business to be much more important and to increase the revenue, I mean, from there. Yeah.
This is Brian. Yeah, I got a quick questions earlier. You were talking about the regional. Yeah. And because myself is actually handling this part of the world, like Malaysia as well as Indonesia, and there is a lot of all this software company, very specialized software company, especially, which is most likely in the size of SME, the small medium size of a business, whereby the urgency of looking into the software monetization or licensing is very weak, in a way that they are very still pretty much on the old school approach, that you're using a trust, using an agreement, that between them and to the customers. So now the question is that how do we actually can have create kind of an urgency for this company that, hey, it's a time for you to look into it, there's a lot of benefits that you can get from you know, you license the software, increase the revenue. What's the driving, you know, what's the key things that create the urgency, all right, within all this organization?
Okay, Brad. I mean, just to share with you my personal experience, because I am handling the market for some times in this region for 6 years. Okay, so it is true that, you know, I mean, there is a kind of a different adoption level in between countries like in the West and also the larger economy, which is IP oriented, like Taiwan, China, Japan, Korea, and in compared to the region of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. Yeah, I'm not to say we don't have it, we do have it, but the SME, I would say, to share the experience, to really, you know, to tell the, I think the most important first thing would be the executive sponsorship. So the culture maybe in the region of here may not be that easy to really bring up the ideas to share with the management, and most of the time the decision making is more very centralized into the people at the C level. So if the executive sponsor are not being invited to understand the concept, it will be difficult to move at this stage. And most of the time, I would say that the cost of saving will become the first thing that people will look into this in this region. Yeah, so there's a concept now. They say that's why we are talking about the SM concept, how we can bring it into a different level to allow people to understand today you are using such a tools. It's not just only for cost saving, but it's for something that can help you to make even more money, to maximize more sales, getting more revenue for your current product line without doing too much of new things, you know, on your product. Yeah, but cost saving is the key things I would say, Brian. So that you need to really, you know, I mean, to tell, to justify to the SME owners or the C levels, you know. So you can still grow it yourself, to do it yourself. However, in some countries, I would say, you know, in like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, you know, the salary is a bit, I mean, the wages a bit lower. So somehow it's not easy to let them understand. Okay, you can actually, they will tend to go into like, you know, building by themselves. But however, if you're looking into the overall big picture, is that, you know, they may forget that if you spend people to build on the software of the homegrown license that you mentioned, and then you're going to face off today lots of different channels of platforms like iOS, Android, Mac, you know, I mean, Linux, you know, even Windows are upgrading the platform every day. You will tend to stuck in the way to be keep on building something, not what you are focused on. So you are supposed to be focused into CRM software, for example. So you're supposed to sell and enhance your CRM software. But because of you did not actually, you spend too much time on licensing, you actually reduce and slow down the rollout of your entire product to the market. So that become a time to the market problem. Yeah. But like I say, this is something that I would say, for my experience, if we can't hit the C level and the executive level of sponsorship, it is very hard to discuss about this, because you have to get the P&L people who are holding the books, who come in to tell them that, you know, that is something that is on hand, and you can see so scalable a solution from a few $100s to, you know, you can start up. You know, why not? Why you need to build it? You know. So I hope I answer your question, but it's a thing that I will agree that it's a completely different culture in this region. So that's something we're also exploring. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. I think you're really helpful. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the answer.
Okay, so the software market has changed, you know, I mean, in a way that companies are operating differently. So from used to be like selling a product with a CD to ship to you, and then how many they sell, you know, and then who is going to own the product, I mean, at the time. And today, I think that the whole entire the viewpoints has changed. So both the customers, the vendors are looking into providing the values to the customer, and the customer also need to look into what you are continuously providing me as a value, so that we can have that kind of relationship, you know, in between the vendor and the customer, no longer just like sell and buy alone. So there's a relationship in order to achieve what we call the recurring revenue. So recurring revenue is something that's very important as well. I mean, as of today, business strategy. Yeah. Let me just change it. So one of the internal survey that has been done by Thales Sentinel in the past, that from a group of the customers, sampling from the group of customers, they do ask a question. You know, they say, hey, you know, the looking back into last 1 to 2 years time, when you decided to buy our software and deploy it in your organization, what is actually the thing that really drive, I mean, your intention to do that? And you'll be surprised. it is not protection. In fact, 75% of the customer responded to Thales Sentinel that we actually believe and understand the idea of software monetization, and we believe that it can really help us to really increase the revenue. So by using your software, well, of course, to be fair, there's a lot of different vendors in the market, but I mean, Thales Sentinel is still the leader in this market space with 52%. And there are also segments of the customer who talk about improving operational efficiency. Okay, so this is more into like the process, of the software monetization. By the time you sell a particular product, you pass to the account department pass to the software licensing manager, how to actually entitle to issue the license for the customer, activate, support them until the time expire, they want to renew, they want to upgrade, to buy more. It's actually a process to do this software monetization. So over here, I would say we are not that much of like an automated. I mean, the state of automation is not that high. But if you look into a lot of different products from the US, Europe, and today I would say even China, Japan, and Korea and Hong Kong, you see a lot of these products are into even a way that customers like to be into much more automated environment. Yeah. So there's derived from the time that you talk about how the customer satisfied, because the customer no longer want to talk to you too much, Sometimes, let's say, for example, we have some of the customer to talk about when my point of sale system is down. So every time I want to look for someone to reactivate and reissue a license for me is so difficult. And my entire restaurant are not able to move. So if you have an automated solution, then it become faster. So the customer is much more happier. It's not I don't want to talk to you, but sometimes in some business critical environment, we just need things to be solved fast. So these are the 3 key elements I would say, these days that you can see customer satisfaction, operational efficiency, and by most is actually the revenue that how much you can really increase from your current IP of your software. Yeah. Okay. So Gartner reports talking about by 2020, 80% of the software in the market is moving into subscription basis. I think the trend is keep on moving, and then you can see even more changes. And what's the story behind? I mean, I think it's not just talking about the vendor wanting to be recurring revenue alone. So the customer expectation has also changed. So I mean, they would question to say that instead of buying the whole thing from you, the perpetual, the features, but sometimes I may just only use it 6 months or 12 months time, or sometimes I may just only use based on certain transaction for certain projects. So the customer want to pay fairly. So they may want to say that how much value that you give me. So I want to pay something much more fair to you by what I want to use. So that competitiveness in the market of the software, enterprise software or whatever, I mean, IP has really driven that, give the customer even more expectation and say that, hey, no, I'm not going to pay you something like what you charge me. So give me a fair model. So these things really become the driver of today. Yeah. So not just only from the vendor point of view. So recurring revenue. Sorry, any question, Daniel?
Just actually referring to the previous slide. Actually, I agree with this point a lot, because previously I've been working on some projects last time where the customers, sometimes they have to pay a few $100,000 just to get a system up. But with this kind of idea or this kind of concept, I think the customer actually can save a lot, because they should only pay by what they're using. So yeah, this one is something that I really agree on.
Yeah, 100% for me too. I think that is something that you talk about. The world is changing. The model has changed. More competitiveness. I mean, you have to really look into what the customer expecting in the market. So that is something that you can, because we are talking about how you can increase the revenue from the stagnant market or even a competitive market of today. So if you can match the expectation, of course, you're going to get more. So that's a very basic. I mean, the business rules from there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I have questions here.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Talking about, I have an experience when I checked into one of the medical device equipment company, which is they're very specializing in doing an X-ray for the dental. All right, for dental. And what happened is that the current, the business model, how they resell is that they will have, a clinic, or will actually get a financier, to buy the machines, from this manufacturer, and eventually going to pay as leasing to the financier, that kind of mode of environment. So if in a scenario that if let's say it put into a recurring revenue or maybe a subscription model, so to the manufacturer, they always have a thought that they talk to me is that would be look like they are actually helping the clinic or the dentist to run the business instead. For the manufacturer, they always have a thought of like I'm trying to get my money fast enough, and take the money. So they kind of like the concept of the recurring revenue, but in the same time, there is also a bit of against on how they are running the business. All right. So in this scenario, is that what is as a business owner of the manufacturer themselves, what kind of a commitment or in a way that the way they're running the business and the impact to the existing revenue generation on how they're doing now. And when you're moving into subscription model, which is they will tend to think like, last time I used to be getting money within, let's say, other transaction is done and I'm getting all the money, and now you have to split it across multi-years. So that kind of a situation that happens. So in your opinion, or in the market research, how they actually tell Sentinel, or maybe this kind of a business model will be, against whatever they're doing now?
Okay, Brad, I think it's not really against what they're doing now. So, I mean, I would say, let's say when we explain these slides, we talk about the recurring revenue. Being a person or a management who are really emphasized on P&L, so profit and loss. So you are from the sales marketing, or maybe the finance department, or even the CEO. So every year you need to make sure that you are selling more, you are making more. I mean, that's the important thing. So today, let's say if the manufacturing has something to talk about, you already selling $1 million of the software to a particular end client. So the business strategy is supposed to be not talking about how you use model has become aware that to split and dilute your current revenue. It's supposed to be in a way that we should all sit down to discuss if we are going to use the concept of software monetization. How can I make more money from the $1 million segment here? So it's very much tied to the business strategy. You're not supposed to be really, using the new leasing model to actually to dilute your current selling, but instead you are actually trying to use SM as a new business strategy to open up the market that you're supposed to be attacking. Okay. So going back to the question of, let's say, if you're talking about the leasing, if you are able to really provide a segment of the market who would like to use a solution, but they can't pay you, because the customer who can pay you is okay, but the customer who can't pay you, but they maybe need a better, OPEX in paying your, solution. You can do so by using the software monetization strategy to split them up to 12 months to 24 months. But I would say the experience is that if you are giving a higher amount of the monthly leasing, end up you're going to own the solution for more than 20 to 40%. So in a way, you give a clear distinction in between the customer who choose to buy the current product from you in a perpetual way. And then you also got extra open up market segment that a customer not supposed to be able to pay via one shot on, but they can provide you the kind of like the OPEX money every month. Then you got a new market segment. So I wouldn't say it's the dilute what they have, but it's something that you got to look into to tie to the business strategy of every company, how they want to make more money from there. Not only talk about to just become a threat of the current model. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Okay. That's very helpful. No, yeah.
So that's why if you look at today, recurring revenue is becoming so important, because as a P&L person, it's so difficult to sell to open up new customers, and then open up already how do you facing a very uphill challenge every year, because you're going to sell more and more, 5% more, 10% more, 15% more. That's the realistic of the world of today. So if you talk about, you got 91% of the company in US, so now they are talking about doing extra, the kind of like sales, on subscription. So that is how they talk about, how we can create a segmentized market from there. So, but by giving extra, by pay by month, by based on time use, by based on meter, just maybe even I try to make an example like accounting software. so that you tend to buy the whole software. But sometimes you may say that, a company say that I got a subsidiaries or I got a project for an event for marketing events in this year. So perhaps I only may use it for more than 5,000 transactions times. Can you charge me based on that? Yeah. So if you don't give them that kind of option, they won't buy from you either. So they may stuck into another things. But I mean, just to use your X. But if you have that kind of like new ways to be business model to package your service to a particular customer in this segment, so you actually increase the revenue. So basically, I would say, I mean, to the people who are holding the P&L, software monetization is a concept to not come in to actually stop you from doing what you're doing now, but is to really help to segmentize more. Yeah. So it can be like, I think to answer Brian's question just now, you talk about you got rental, you got leasing base, to make it possible. You got cost sharing base, I think that's example that we even talk to some of the Singapore's robotics company. So they talk about, sometimes the robotics want to be shared. I mean, the machine want to share by multiple companies, tenants in particular, same compound. Then how can you do that if you without a software to control it? So in a way, if you're talking about to use their own effort to do this kind of like licensing, it'll be a huge effort for them. So they just do one. They just say, Joe, I want to focus back into my I mean, like the automation machines that have an embedded software. So please just help me to do something that I can do into a multi-tenant environment to build a customer. So that's the key thing that is moving on from there. So you got campaign, you got project based. In the case that maybe they want to come and just say, I need this for 6 months to 12 months time. I need for a project for 3 years to 4 years. So can you help me to sell me on this so that I can be much more easy to justify to buy into a solution? Yeah. So you got prepaid model. I mean, in one of the example that we have faced before, a customer selling a machine to a particular the end user. The end user will say that, I want to buy 5 million times when I operate your machine. So can you do that to me? So I don't want to own your hardware, but I just want to own the service from you. So that become an extra model, but they may be even paying higher than the normal customer. So they want to be doing something like, I buy the machine from you, but I just rent the service from you. But end of the day, I can keep on having a new machine that's servicing my manufacturing line. So you can see a broad range of different segmentized market that you can open up from today, stagnant market. Yeah. So student trial, I think that is one of the key, software giant in the market that we always use. So in fact, many of our SME customers from, to be honest, even from Thailand, Australia, they actually request and say that I am a specialized person who design, having a software who design a particular music system in the whole room. Okay, but I want all this software to be able to use by the student in many universities. They make it very, very cheap. I mean, very, very affordable. So the intention is say that because of this specialized student, when they graduate, when they step into the society and the commercial world, they will tend to use my system even easier. So that become a way that they also want to help to see, okay, for the same group of products, I don't want to do anything. I can repackage my product into rental basis, student trial basis, prepaid model, cost sharing, subscription. That really open up even more ideas for you to the market. So, but like I said, it is the tools is actually helping you to do something simple. But the important is that you still have to tie back to your business strategy. You can't go without that. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, to do that, I mean, what you need is actually a tool, the software monetization tools. So we are representing Sentinel, I mean, software monetization tools. And today, the market is calling this tool SLM, software licensing and monetization tools. So that is a tool to help you from, if you see the diagram here, just the left bottom. A tool in basic, it can help you to do from software, process it. When the end product output come out, it's very simple. You got a protected products, at the same time license to your customer based on what you want to do. Yeah. So the tool can provide encryption, obfuscation. It can provide you to issue so many license package models, and then it can produce you even more. But today we're talking about, just only a very standalone system, but in an integrated environment, you can really automate the entire software monetization process. Yeah. And then you can also do, to talk about so many of your product today. When you sell one, you need to accommodate the people who are using in the Android platform, iOS platform, Mac platform, Windows platform, Linux platform. So all these platforms, imagine they have been keep on doing a lot of updates, due to securities, patches and stuff like that. And imagine if you do not have such a tools that's spending a lot of the, the dirty jobs for you to do this. So you got to lock yourself up to maximize your IP, actually stuck in doing all these kind of like patches, but you did not have the time to actually really develop your own software and sell more and market more in the industry. So this is what's happening. I mean, the software tools is coming to help. And if you look at even the forecast, from now until 2025, I would say this region be a bit late behind. It is going to be a big thing. So if you look back into the previous few slides we talked about, if software is going to be everything, so this is going to be the big thing. So the easier, the faster you enter, then you're going to maximize even more that you can help you to sell, then you can have a right strategy at the beginning, then it will make you much more easy to roll out and to adopt this SLM tool in your organization. Yeah. So of course, the last thing is the homegrown and commercial, because when people ask, Joe, what do you think about the biggest competitors in the market for you? And I think both Tyler Sentinel, of us, we all understand the biggest competition that we have is actually the homegrown. Because if you look back into all these software vendors, no matter you are embedded, software vendors to a device, or you are the enterprise software vendors, whoever start to write a software, they will have a homegrown solution developed naturally. So because before you use the tools, unless you are a unicorn startup today, so you got a fund from SoftBank, billions to start to plan everything well. So if you are starting from scratch, it's very natural that you got a homegrown. But the point is, the homegrown, you hit a situation of today when there are so many channels that you need to really accommodate the platform changes, platform updates, and then also the licensing models that come very aggressively from the market and the customer expectation. So you're becoming a very big challenge for you to just only spending the time that is not required for you to sell more, because you need to focus into your product. But the point of this modeling, the packaging, when you got a tool that can help you, you probably just only pay for a very fraction of the cost from your revenue. So then you can really save it, and then you can continue to move on. So that's how the concept of software monetization and the concept of how to execute this software monetization strategy via SLM tools that have the entire picture and link in this industry. Yeah. So I hope I'm not so fast to talk about it, but that's a challenge that we have been keep on trying to tell the market. The awareness of software monetization. It's a new buzzword, to be honest, just only started this few years, but this word is going to be a key word, I would say, in the coming future. Just like big data, AI is something very important, because everything is going to be software. Be it even to talk about a car, that you need to really drive a car, the intelligent, you got embedded software into all the cars with a CPU in the cars. So these things are getting much more related these days. Yeah. So how it works, I would say, to make it very simple, like I say, we wouldn't go into very technical approach. So to look in this diagram, we try to build it into very simple to understand. Very simple, in fact, if you can think about, without too much technicality, you want to use it, it's just about 1 hour time or 2 hours time, you can package and start to roll out your product. So that's how importance of these SLM tools come into picture and help. So step one is always protection, because you need to encrypt, you need to obfuscate your products. Very simple. You will do whatever encryption required. And then the second thing will be entitlement. The word of entitlement in this space we call is how you really make a license to your customers. Yeah. So you got to define your product catalog. Like we just mentioned that but you got selling something now, the manufacturing, but you get a new subscription model, will it impact? So that you have to sit down and think about the strategy, and then how you actually select the license model. There won't be, something that to be really diluting what you have now, but you can really segmentize and increase the new market segment. Then you entitle the license to what your customer purchase in a way that you focus into renewal every year as well. So this becoming a relationship between you and your customer in a recurring basis. Okay, so you revisit a strategy in the case if you do not have a high renewal rate, or there is something that you see the market competition is growing. So you do not need to do any hard code on your product. Straight away, you can revisit a strategy, repackage, and do whatever it's supposed. So think about the flexibility, and I would say Tyler Sentinel always use the word, it's called agility. The agility that you can really help you to really do something special, fast and swift on that. Yeah. But today we are moving into a much more even more professional way, I would say a more detailed way to talk about, when we talk about big data to your customer. So even the software vendors want to know that, hey Joe, by the way, will it be able to possible that we can see what is the most favorite modules that customers use in my system? So you can't have this data in the past, but today, if you are embarking software monetization, you start to even to try to track the usage, whether what is not really useful in your module that you don't want to spend too much time or to enhance it better, or you see something that people like to use in your features in the module, then you can even monetize and charge more from that module because you feel that that module is so important that from your, customers. So this make all things become very possible today. So in a way, a nutshell, if you look at today, the whole diagram, how it works, very simple, 3 steps, behavior. Step 1, protect. Step 2, entitle, how to issue the license. And step 3, track and evolve. So that's so important, so simple and so important, the SM process. Yeah. So, okay, so what is business model available? So we do not, I think we still have about 5 to 10 minutes time. So licensing and business model guide, you have something like package, I try to, if you look back into the old days, when you buy a Microsoft Office CD, so you sell a package, give you a CD, you can use it on the machine, done, that's it, And then going into a last decade, many companies start to use into perpetual. So you can sell a product by charging a 10 to 15%, the maintenance fee on the product. So it's a perpetual base. So these are still today, available. Yeah. So you got a feature base, talking about, like SAP. You buy a core ERP, but you can have an HR module, you have a sales module, you have a stock taking module, you have a warehousing module. There's so many different modules that are available. So they become features that you also can charge differently, depends on how you want to tie back into your business strategy. Yeah. And then you have processor. So that's a bit tricky these days, because last time when we talk about processor licenses, during 10 to 15 years ago, suddenly you got some of the PC and server so powerful that they do not need to buy extra server to actually use, your software, the vendor software to service, their end customer. And because of that, you actually lost the license revenue. So that's why they become a processor license to talk about at the time. At the time, I would say, so that you got one processor is how much, second processor is how much. They're no longer based on server license. But today, they are even going into a coin license, because processor, you get one, but I can develop even multiple coin into a processor. So because of that, it becomes so powerful that I do not need to buy so many of your software, but to doing the same job or even more job. So that also becomes a strategy that you need to sit down together. It is something that you can't run away. The entire SM is becoming the annual thing. All the IP company, all the company that have a related software IP, they have to sit down and they have to think about it, how they can use this practice, to make more money from there. So the important is how to make more money from there. Of course, it's got to be also fair to the customer at the end point as well. So you got network, you got concurrent license, you got subscription license, which is something that very popular today. I would say due to the recurring relationship, more and more is moving into subscription, and you got KPI based. So KPI is something that is very, I would say, a new thing that that you can consider. That would be somehow the customer may say that, Joe, you can sell something to me, but to me, I would just want to achieve something before I paid you. So I don't care how many time, how many months, how many whatever users that you have. But when you achieve something, I pay you based on agreed KPI. So that also become one of the very important license package that are available in the market. Yeah. So you got pay per use. The mobile phone, you got the custom license, they talk about, custom license basically is just talk about you can have mix and match, match for all the things that we just described just now to becoming a custom license to your customers. Okay. Then of course you have a tamper-proof license. This is more on the technology in the case that if you wanted to use it for some of the hard keys, if you still use hard key to do the licensing, so the tamper-proof license becomes very important. So this is because due to the reason of today, too many, I would say the people are doing piracy, to hacking the dongles, that happening in the market. To use a well-known brand like Untitled Sentinel, you have a better chance to really protect your software and also have a peace of mind that really operate in this environment without too much firefighting. Yeah, so that's important to explain that. Okay, so I got only about last 1 or 2 slides. Okay, so to just understand the entire thing, you know, I mean, Sentinel software. So again, I have to say, I mean, because we are the partner of Sentinel, so we show what we have on Sentinel today. Yeah. So Sentinel all started with to talk about the EMS, you know, the entitlement management. What we seen just now to talk about issuing license, the 3 steps. It can be just as small as this component, but it can be also integrated to other components. Okay, for example, even to talk about your CRM, your ERP, your billing. If you are talking about when a sales make a sale, how do you actually automate it without doing too much extra thing, and it can issue a license at the same time, make a billing from your ERP. So these are the things that you can even automate. So many of Talent Sentinel customer in a worldwide billions revenue basis are doing that. Okay, but of course, like I said, the most important is not this solution is not just for the big boys. You can start very small. You can start from SME, a few $100s, to until a very complicated environment that you can even mix with a homegrown license. You can integrate with your third-party software if you're using other third-party software already. You can manage the download by yourself. You can from the download give them a 90-day trials. You can even doing something like the update automatically, window updates like by using Sentinel Up. You can even activate, you know, transfer license, managing your channels, you know, all with an automated portal. And what you can see at the downstairs is that the message is very clear to tell you today you have a peace of mind. If you are using Talent Sentinel software, you're no longer just tied down to only a software for Windows. So while you are focusing on your own product, Talent Sentinel open up, I mean, the particular channel for you to make sure that if you got your product extending into mobile, if you got a product extending into Linux or even embedded, I mean, device, so you have the enterprise solution already scalable and ready for you to grow in this manner. So you don't have to look left, look right. It gives you a bigger chance, better chance to really, I mean, fairly on this segment. So that's something to tell you about how the entire Talent Sentinel, I would say, overall picture from there. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you in short, you got HL. You know, I mean, just this one I will just go very short. You know, very briefly. You know, so to talk about the dongles of the old days. You know, when you put in a USB key to ensure that your software will be protected at the same time you're licensed to use. You know, so many people may say that, you know, Joe, is the USB key today is it an old technology? I wouldn't say it's an old, but perhaps more of the people are moving into software key. But hardware key is something that is available if you in a situation where you still need it. Okay, I just would say that, you know, like in a way that if you want to really move certain things like the content that you want to encrypt it into the drive. So I mean, Sentinel does have a micro SD keys that include that, you know, and even encrypt the content for you. And if you want it to be very flexible for the people to move from machine to machine, so that you can use a hardware key from there. So if you still think that some people are old school to want to know that, I mean, afraid of people to tamper the CPU clock to use the software, we still go with the Sentinel on the hardware on that. But today, I think Sentinel is raising the bar, which we are discussing with some of the the customer who are in the governmental sector and the military sector, where they can move some of the algorithm into the USB. So they call app on chip. So from there, even if you're expecting any hijackers, you know, actually Trojan at the computer, but they can't see how you algorithm calculate the value to come up, because you will move the particular calculation onto the chip. So that's what you can do from there. So I would say HL is something that's still justifiable, but it's something that the trend is moving more into software due to, you know, I mean, today's the VM, you know, I would say we have increasingly a lot of customer keep asking us, you know, Joe, I want to really give my customer the software to be able to install in the VM. How can I track it, you know, I mean, without letting them to go duplicate and clone it? So how can I actually talk about the Dockers, you know? So that's a bit technical. How do you package and ship? So these are all supported from the SL. In the case today, you need something no more, do let us know so we can see how we can really contact you in a separate session to talk about more the technical ability. And today, Sentinel LDK is even moving into a situation to support cloud. So you do not need any infrastructure, I mean, to really host all the license manager entitlement. You can put everything on cloud if you wanted to. And the good thing is that not just about the concept is almost about a soft key, but it can really help you to take on more control to your customer who are using the software. In the case you want to recover, in the case you want to really, do the updates, you have more control from there. So these are the three key things that I would say we have, in a nutshell. But there's lots more than that, because enterprise solution there's a lot more than that. So HL, SL, CL are the key three elements that we have, from Thales Sentinel offering. Yeah. Okay, last slide. That we have is that we just have to recap, the three things, important thing today that we discussed, the customer. So the important is always how you can help me when I use Thales Sentinel to generate more revenue. This was very important. If it does not make sense, I would say then it becomes very much from a technical discussion point. So the importance of all companies looking into SM concept or SM tool to help is to how you can use Sentinel to help you make more money. That's very straightforward. Second, if not make more money, beside that, how can you also immediately to give me a justification ROI? So you have operational efficiency to really make me to solve, to come back with the saving from the operation. Not just that, you can even faster the conventional way of issuing a license by, need about 2 or 3 days or 4 days. But with the Thales Sentinel solution, you can shorten everything, not just cost saving, but even the time for maybe even 1 to 2 hours time. So things are really, really big change if you have this kind of like SLM tool in your organization. And lastly is the customer satisfaction. So like we just said, that today many customers do not even like to talk to you. If I want to really you to reissue a license, if I can pay, or if I want to renew, do I need to really talk to so many people? If I can really get something fast, automated, that's something that I expected. So these are the key things that I would say how, as a value that Thales Sentinel or SLM as an SLM tool can bring you to help you to really achieve, like we say that, to increase your revenue in this stagnant market. Okay. At the same time, in saving costs from your operation, make it faster, efficient, and the important is that eventually both happy, the vendor and the customer is happy. Yeah. Okay, that's all of my today. I hope we are not over time too much. But possibly, Yong, should we open up for more question and answer sessions for today?
Yeah, sure. So
if anything anyone you can help.
Yeah. Anyone have any question, you can type the questions in the chat box there, then we will try to have you to answer that. Or
you can supply the email to them, in the case we are running out of time, then they can always email us,
Okay, sure. So I'll the email address in the chat box. So if there's any questions that you have, you can email to us.
Probably this is Brian. Probably I have a questions that asking maybe on behalf of some of the attendees here. Some of those are already using Thales Sentinel, maybe using HL, for certain products or for certain version of the products. So the question is that if let's say I have some sort of solutions which is in homegrown licensing, all right. So which is already existing. So what was the best approach if let's say should I migrate the whole thing using the Thales Sentinel, or it should be like running on a hybrid, and also at what stage should we start, when in terms of the product development, cycle, when should we start the, looking into the using the licensing tools such as like Thales Sentinel?
Okay, okay. Like I said before, the first thing would be I encourage that. The first thing will be the business unit of the particular company will start to sit down to think about how they want to really use the SLM tool to make more money from that. The first thing is that. So instead of the technicality of how you roll out and the adoption, so Thales is very scalable. They don't actually stop you like doing the completely roll out at one time, or completely hybrid, or completely, to talk about on a new product module that you're going to launch. But for most of our customers, they will start from really to talk about a cutoff point. Okay, so the cutoff point will be something that they will maintain, they will support, no issue about it. They won't do any changes about it. But they will start to really use Sentinel LTK in a way to talk about, in a time basis to talk about, let's say we should start in the Q2, all license issued will be using LTK Sentinel, okay? But at the same time, you may or may not need to be integrated with the LTK solution. So at this point in time, you can still make it independent from both sides, but you can still use the LTK to start to issue a new product from Sentinel key, okay, basis protection and the licensing without any impact. So basically, I would say it's very scalable. You do not have that kind of issue unless you are very huge enterprise, which selling a lot of software. Not just only in your home country, you're selling everywhere. Just like some of our customers shipping the product to Latin America, to Russia, to Europe. So I mean, they can't, but they in a way they want Sentinel to come in, not just as a independent or solution. They want it to be enterprise. So by the time you may want to do some integration together to manage, at least, I mean, the database to talk about what kind of license that you have issued, who have your license, because that's important. So that's asset. Eventually, this customer who hold your license, the database of who are using what, that becoming very important also to your business strategy every year, to prompt them for upgrade, for renewal, for even to cross-sell them other things, that is important from there. But like I said, there's nothing. This is too easy because the Sentinel solution starting, a package, can be just buy, and many of our customers just start to have a cutoff point. Let's say from next quarter, then they issue the new license with this product. That's done. Everything that they in the past they will still maintain it, but without even integrating into it. So unless you are a very big skill, I would say, then you may have the concern to really integrate everything into Sentinel.
Okay, thank you.
A very scalable product, I would say. Many of our customers, I have to tell you that many of our customers to talk about, they can have starting to look into the solution by really building a perpetual protection from start. So some they want the protection and perpetual, and then straight away they can offer even some time subscription and some usage-based subscriptions. I mean, all depends on how the customer wanted to. So we can't help, but what we can help SLM is more to like, we are giving you the agility of all these available models. So from there, you can achieve the business objective what you wanted to do. Oh, it's very interesting because I honestly, I've been given a chance that can meet up with a lot of software vendors, so a lot of R&D units in the region. So I did learn from them as well, in a different industry and what kind of challenges they have. So that, I mean, we proportionally to explain or to even share among different customers. So that become very helpful. But like I say, the SM concept is very, very thin in this region. But given the fact that everything is going to be booming, so that will be something, if you are doing the right thing now, that will give you a chance to be in the forefront, to be competitive in the market. So I would suggest that is something that you need to be really look into it very, very urgently. Yeah. Okay, so if there's not much question, or we have only 1 minute away from the session. And please do send us the information, any additional question if required, and we will try to contact you, send you a link with the contents that we with the slide that we have if you require. So do let us know from there. Yeah. Without too much delay, I have to say that for all your time. Yeah. So have a nice day and great weekend ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining.
Right, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Yong. Thank you, Brian, for organizing the session. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.